What's going on, swoopers? Welcome back to another episode of Swoop Luke. This is another episode in my long line of AFL Evolution 2 videos. This will be a review of the game after sitting with it for about 2.5 weeks. So let's roll that intro, jump straight into it. So I've been a fan of the AFL video games back into like the late 90s. I'm pretty sure the first AFL game I played was the 98 or 99 games that were published by EA. And then it kind of dropped off a bit. I think I played AFL 2003. But most recently it's been the first AFL Evolution by Wicked Witch and True Blue. And now, obviously most recently, AFL Evolution 2, if I can get it on screen properly, AFL Evolution 2 by Wicked Witch and True Blue, but you can see that it's on the Xbox One now because I had a bit of a problem with my PlayStation 4. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So let's jump straight into this review. Off the top of the bat, really enjoyed this game. How many was that? 3 realies. I do really like it, but in saying that, it's not without its flaws, and there are a lot of flaws. So this game was touted for a 2019 or early 2019 release. 2018 was pretty much all a lead up to this game being released. Then it got delayed, and then it was delayed again to the second half of 2019, and then it was ultimately delayed again until 2020 and until now. There was mainly because maybe the game wasn't up to scratch. There was talks of the Unreal Engine 4 by Epic. Obviously, it's used by a lot of the big gaming companies, so that pushed the game a little bit later. It was supposed to come out around, what's the date today? 22nd of April. So it was supposed to come around this week, but with all this COVID-19 stuff that happened, they got an early release for the game, and it released the first week of April. So like I said at the start, I have been playing this game for about 2 weeks. There's a card here that is a link to all my AFL Evolution 2 gameplay so far on career mode. But now that's a little bit of the backstory, so now let's get straight into the actual review of the game. So I'm not going to fluff around too much anymore. I'm just going to get straight into the strengths, straight into the weaknesses. Strengths is that it's an AFL game. You know, we get one every few years. AFL Evolution, I think, came out 2017. Then there was a 2018 patch, updated jerseys and stuff like that. And then we had to wait. You know, we were supposed to get one in 2019, then we had to wait till 2020. So yeah, one of the strengths, which is a pretty weak strength, but it is an AFL game. 2, it's actually really enjoyable. If you played the first AFL Evolution game, it's pretty much like for like. The button mapping system is pretty much the same. If you go through the book, there is so many different layouts for the controller. I know it's been brought up in a couple of reviews by reviewers, but I just have to make that point again. But if you play AFL Evolution, it's a pretty much easy switch to AFL Evolution 2. There are a couple of new things. There's lots of tutorials on there, and they do that open field where it's literally just you and a ball flying in, and you can practice marks and stuff. They should have made it maybe you can put in 2 or 3 different players. So gameplay is fine. In my early videos, in my first ever reaction video to this game, when I started playing it, I couldn't mark the ball. I didn't know how to mark. I've just started pretty much to learn how to mark the ball. There's a couple of bracing things where you can brace and hold your position and stuff like that. It's a bit more technical. Press triangle to mark when the circle is small enough. But you kind of learn that after a few games and a couple of practices. So it does get easier and more enjoyable. Another strength I find is its online capabilities. Yes, the online capabilities aren't up to scratch. And there are a lot of bugs and a lot of glitches and flaws, but I think, you know, the ability to play against someone on the opposite side of Australia or opposite side of the world in a game that you love, you know, it's really cool. You know, they've got the leaderboards up there and stuff. It's 2020, and me saying that online capability is a strength is kind of just showing where this game kind of sits in the scheme of things. But I do enjoy the online play. Another thing that AFL Evolution 2 does well is the players' likeliness. Yes, we've all seen those photos of The boys looking like they're just pinging. They've just come from a 4 a.m. rev sesh. But even though they're pinging, they do look like Jeremy Howe. They do look like Steel Sidebottom, Tom Phillips, and everyone else in the game. I think, for such a small company, which is small in the grand scheme of things, based in Melbourne, Australia, I think that they've done a great job for what they have to work with. And, props to them. Yes, the smaller players on the list, they're not going to have their face scans. Just like in FIFA, they don't have their face scans either for the younger sort of youth players. But for what they've been able to work with, I think they've done a relatively good job. So that's the strengths out of the way. I can't keep harking on about the things that we take for granted in any other game as being a strength. So I'm going to move on to the weaknesses, some of the bugs that I've found, some of the glitches. There's been numerous posts, numerous videos about all this stuff. But this is just all my opinion, obviously. So let's just go on to the weaknesses. Wicked Witch had a couple of years to develop this game, and yes, I said that it was enjoyable, but out of the box, it just deems not unplayable. That's harsh of a word because you can play it, but to get the best experience out of this game, you have got to adjust your sliders manually, and by sliders I mean, tackle pressure, holding the ball, free kicks, handball distance, all these little things. I've done it in a video previously to kind of fine tune the game to make it like a modern football game, because at the moment it's just a tackle fest. Someone gets the ball, they get tackled, comes up. Someone gets the ball, they get tackled, comes up. It kind of plays out like a rugby match with just more kicking of the ball, kicking goals and stuff like that. So I think a little bit more time could have been developed, maybe a bit more play testing. So the default should be not this tackle fest, but a slower sort of game where it gives the players more opportunity to run, more opportunity to spread out, instead of just bang, 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 all this, not even attacking, just all this tackling and not really making any meterage gain. Another thing is that the game kind of feels like it got to the point where it's like, is this game good enough? Yeah, it's good enough. All right, ship it up and let's take it to the stores. I feel like it wasn't, like in my last point, play tested enough, because there are so many glitches in this that it shouldn't have been sent out like this. Like, let me give you an example just that I'm just going to make up. Say you're playing FIFA and your striker goes to kick the ball. He's taking a penalty. He goes to kick the ball straight, and he does a backflip, and the ball goes over his head. You think, fuck, how do they let that go in this game? That's ridiculous. And it just keeps happening. And then they come out and say, oh, no, we'll patch it. It's like, did you not take a penalty kick? Same thing in AFL Evolution 2. Sometimes you'll get tackled with the ball, but the ball will get kicked like 100 meters, but you get pinged for holding the ball or dropping the ball. It's like, okay, that's a glitch, and you think, okay, it was just one off. Then it keeps happening. Or there's this scene, it hasn't happened to me yet, but I've seen footage where the ball's on the ground, there's 10 players running around the ball, and none of them are picking it up. It's just like, how is this a thing that keeps happening? How is this not picked up in the playtesting rounds, if there were playtesting rounds? So it's just little things like that where I feel like they had an extra year and a half, or we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, they had an extra 9 months with the game where they could have ironed all of these out and really given us a game out of box that was not perfect, because nothing is perfect, but well enough to play, so you didn't have to adjust this, and there didn't have to be all this complaining about the game. Something else that I really can't get over or can't see anything positive in it is the commentary. And they had Hutto in, they got Gary Lyon, changing from Richo and Dennis Committee in the previous game. But Jesus Christ almighty, there is only a handful number of teams in the Australian Football League, and the Women's League and NAB and stuff. Just spend an extra few hours going through matchups and not just slicing it up. Like, I know we're not EA, I know we're not 2K, but even them, with the millions of soccer teams and basketball teams, they're able to make the commentary sound like, you're right there and they're invested in the game. You know, let me give you an example. Collingwood versus Hawthorn. It's like, are you serious? Collingwood versus only 17 teams. And okay, maybe make it Collingwood versus Collingwood if it's a mate versus a mate. So 18 teams, just in the AFL. We're not going to talk about NAB League or anything like that. Watch this. Collingwood versus Melbourne. Today, Collingwood versus Hawthorn. On this bright sunny MCG, it's Collingwood taking on Geelong. Collingwood taking on Gold Coast. Gold Coast taking on Hawthorn. Hawthorn taking on the Giants. It's like, oh my god, that took me 10 seconds to do. How are they not doing this? Even, you know, throughout the game as well, it's just littered with these sort of bugs and commentary glitches. There's no real excitement, and I know, and I keep harking on to this, I know we're not EA, but it's just fucking commentary. It's just audio. It's literally just audio and then putting it in. Like, I'm not a gamer, like as in, I don't make games or anything like that, but there has to be a mechanic that says, okay, any goal between 0 and 20 meters when you're pressing the triangle button to rocket it in for a snap, the commentary gets excited. And I only have like 5 or 6 different commentaries like that. When it's when you've picked torpedo from 60 meters out, get excited when the thing that's a good goal by Pendlebury. That is a ripping barrel by Scott Pendlebury. Even if their name is inserted, but at least give us a little bit more. Don't spend 12 hours on commentary. You've had 2 years to make this game. Spend 4 days, spend a week on commentary. Like, it's not that crazy to do. Like, I'll do it for the next game. Just give me, you don't even, literally pay me peanuts. Pay me, actually not peanuts, because I don't really like peanuts. Pay me in honey roasted cashew nuts, and I'll do the commentary for those, for honey roasted cashews. The AI out of the box, and even now when I've changed my sliders, they're just dumb. Like, I'm playing on legendary mode, or legend mode, whatever you want to call it, and it's still relatively easy. Yes, I'll lose a couple of games, but, you know, I was versing Richmond the other day, they kicked 5 goals, 9, or something ridiculous like that. I shouldn't have to put the sliders on to give the AI heaps accuracy. Like, I don't even think, okay, yeah, there is sliders in like FIFA and stuff like that, but you don't have to touch them, because if you put world class mode or professional mode on FIFA, the system knows, okay, this guy's a good gamer, let's give him a hard team. But the difference between legendary mode and rising star is not a lot at all. So I think there needs to be another hard difficulty. And a bit going on from that as well, something that I would like to see in the game as well would have been, I was talking about it before, where it's just, when you're trying to practice, it's just you and some guy throwing the ball, like imaginary person throwing the ball. Give us a little bit of skill games. Handball games into the thing to practice handballing, kicking to different players, you know, points and stuff like that. Yes, it's fun to verse someone else online, but if you can verse someone else locally or online in just mini games, like, it wouldn't take a lot. 2 players, one handballing this way, one handballing that way into goals, or 3, you know, maybe not 3 aside. Bit of a long shot, but maybe AFL X would have been a little bit cool to put into there. Just little things like that, you know, instead of, you know, the NAB League or the Under-17s League. Yeah, it's really cool to have that sort of stuff in there, but is it really a necessity? Or the international, there's international teams in here for some reason. But that's just a couple of things that I would like brought into the game. There is a new patch coming out. They did say that they will be working on a new patch. Just these patches, it just really irks me. Like, this should have been something that's been fixed when we got the game. But in saying all that, this review went on for a little longer than I would have liked, but I needed to air some of that stuff out. I really hope you enjoyed it. I really hope you're enjoying my AFL Evolution 2 videos. If you've watched it this long, thank you so much. I will be going back to normal Swoop Luke Collingwood things shortly. I got an awesome Anzac Day video coming out on Anzac Day. So yeah, definitely watch that. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, double shackers. I'll swoop you later.